Hello, my dear friends. It is always such a great pleasure to come and speak to you and share experiences because, after all, it's so simple to understand why you're suffering and how to fix it. It's almost too simple, of course, and some people want that complication, so the mind keeps wanting to add to your protocols and things like this. But in reality, if you keep yourself simple, your life simple, your diet simple, you'll just get so much better. You'll feel so much better. The mind will settle down. It's just such a change when you start changing your life into the living foods and into the living and gaining control of that mind. We have a guest, and we were talking about this before, of having guests that have suffered a lot and telling their story. And this is Athena, and she's been suffering for years with Crohn's. And I mean really suffering bad. And of course, Crohn's they claim, just like cancers and so many problems or autoimmune problems. So she wants to tell her story about what has happened to her through this whole medical event she's been through with this autoimmune Crohn's, and then we'll talk about that, what Crohn's is, and how she's fixed it, and how she's fixed a bunch of other things. So it's great to have you, sweetheart. It really is. And I know when I first talked to you how bad you've suffered. And it was real bad, I know.
Well, first of all, it's a great pleasure to be here. A tremendous pleasure and unexpected surprise. My name is Athena, and like Dr. Morse has said, I have been actually diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and Crohn's and have had challenges since I was a teenager a few years ago. More than
We won't say.
We won't say.
We don't say you're 75, and you're looking good for that.
Yeah,
but, you know.
I'm looking pretty good for 75.
That's that raw.
That's it, and fruit.
You got your hair back.
Yes, and I want to talk about all of these things, including my hair loss, losing over half my hair, which I know a lot of you deal with and are concerned about through your different challenges with acidosis. So I was like you on the other side of that camera, watching Dr. Morris and suffering tremendously. Suffering as in, what does that mean? Being bedridden for months, on and off for years. Anyone who has anything with inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, understands one can lose a lot of blood on a daily basis, running to the bathroom up to and even over 30 times a day.
Oh.
Being anemic, your adrenals down, of course. Yes, I've had years on and off of prednisone, steroids, which is a whole other issue with a lot of side effects besides the adrenals. That contributes to hair loss too.
Yeah.
And even just a year ago, I feel like I had what you attended to me then and called me when I was in the hospital, another healing detox. Something came up where I had inflammation in my knee and ankle and the leg in between, the lower leg, where I lost the ability to walk for about 4 months. And then I went into a flare-up.
That's when you went to the hospital, right?
Yes, and let me just say the combination of not being able to walk and being in a flare-up in an urgent bathroom situation is a little bit dicey.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, at the time, I went into a forced fast. So
Sure.
I wasn't able to or interested in eating. However, I had a hydration issue and had to stay in the hospital only for continued fluids.
Mm-hmm.
And I refused any antibiotics. I refused any medications, even pain medication. Though I did find a plant medicine that does help with pain. We'll call it nice green plant doctor. That does help with the pain quite a bit. And so when I did eat, it was fruit melons and fruit, and really just smoothies, because even chewing fruit wasn't
Sure.
that fun for me at
Sure.
the time.
Yep. Strong on that. On
Yeah,
that bowel.
strong
Yeah.
on that,
Mhm.
and the toxin absorber
Yeah. Ooh.
was huge in helping me.
Good.
Huge.
Good.
Um, so this was just last year, a year ago.
Sure.
In September,
How good you look now.
a year ago, I started walking. It was 4 months of crazy from nowhere.
Wow.
Couldn't walk.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. So, the long and short of it is I've had many years of debilitation on and off, of being bedridden, many near-death experiences.
Well, there's the one right there. She's had many near-death experiences with this. That's how bad she was.
I was sent home to die,
Mhm.
being threatened that from the doctors in the hospital if I didn't have my colon removed,
Her whole colon.
my whole colon, because I had pancolitis, so ulcers throughout the entire colon, and bleeding, of course, profusely, that I would die. And so people often ask me, well, why didn't you get your colon removed? Well, for one,
You're a spiritual lady, for one.
yes.
Inside, you knew somewhere the remedy was there.
I did know, and even though it didn't appear that way after many
Right.
years
Right.
of suffering, I had come to identify myself with the message of, I'll have this, maybe I'll have periods of remission, which I did.
Mhm.
Maybe I could just hope for it being symptom-free, but I'll always have an autoimmune disorder, and so just, at any given time it could sneak up on me and nab me and I'm down again. This is the thought process that they prescribe, A, you have an autoimmune disorder, you have this for the rest of your life, B, you gotta be on this medication for the rest of your life. But what they don't tell you is that even when you are on a medication, they wear off, the efficacy, they no longer become effective. So then you've got to go to another medicine, and then you're on another one. With each one is a whole different set of side effects and issues. Again, never actually addressing the
cause
issue.
of the problem. Ever.
And often not even really getting relief from the symptoms, even for a week or however long.
Oh,
So I want to tell people, anyone suffering in whatever condition, there sure is hope. I'm sitting here now. I've been sent home to die. I can't tell you how many times. So I say, well, look where I am now. I'm on the other side. And so we wanted to talk about some of these issues. We can delve more into what I've gone through. We can also I'd like to talk about autoimmune and this whole concert of emotions around autoimmune that people think, once I've been diagnosed with an autoimmune, which there are many autoimmune disorders, that's it for me. That's it for life. Now I'm done. So I'd like to address this. I'd like to talk about food, and we can just start with the autoimmune and what that means to you.
yeah. I've said this many times to you guys that when someone diagnoses you with an autoimmune problem, that's the first time that you need to say, thank you, see ya. Because that simply says that this physician, whatever level, does not understand a thing about what you're suffering with. And therefore it's easy for them to say, you have an autoimmune problem. That's idiocy. There's no such thing as an autoimmune problem. You have to understand the system that she had down and that was taking her over. And until the medical community, and you guys know it well, and the medical community does not. Therefore, they treat what they don't understand, and they apply an autoimmune syndrome to it. And this is insanity. The patient is suffering like crazy. What they did to her, they shut down her adrenal glands, the very glands that are essential to the lymphatic system, the kidneys. And so her lymph system was backed all over. And you notice that when she went to the steroids, the hair came off. Why? It slammed her adrenals even more, backing up and creating a much higher acidosis involvement. You cannot suppress your lymph system or try to cover it up with artificial synthetic steroids and suppressants. Because this is a good example of what happens. It'll take you down the road to Hellville until you die, or they cut out your colon, and you still haven't corrected the problem. You still don't know why you had it. You don't know why you have ulcerations in the bowel wall and things like this. And it's easy for all of you guys to understand that when you understand the great lymphatic system and just what its job is for you and what its job is for every cell in your body, including in the colon. But it wasn't just in the colon. She had it all through her. She had it in her legs. So this is the lymphatic system. And when you have problem one place, it's in all the places, except you happen to notice it where you're genetically the weakest. That's where it's up in your face. But in reality, you have hot spots all through you. And so they were trying to treat what they didn't understand, and they were killing this poor soul. And they do this to millions of people worldwide. And people have to wake up. Wake up.
Really, and here's the thing. I started with this challenge of illness when I was a teenager, and I didn't know what I didn't know. Ironically, I'm the daughter of a physician. my mother was a physician. No, she passed when I was a teenager, but she took liberty with her black bag a little too much with me, so I had a lot of antibiotics and injections growing up. Then, I don't know if you remember when you first did my photos a few years ago, it's like, oh, you have the eyes of a dairy farmer. I actually became a vegetarian by the time I was 14, but my family's Greek and I'm Mediterranean, so my world was full of yogurt and cheese. That's what I ate all the time, which caused a lot of problems. I do want to also talk about the steroids, and there is hope for if you have had a lot of steroid use. Mine specifically was prednisone. I really don't even want to admit how many courses of high dosage treatments for long periods of time I've had. But we'll say for sure it's been over 10 to 12.
Wow.
Over the years.
I'm amazed you have any adrenal glands left, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, they're still, they're not fully back, but they are. It's a process. It's definitely a process. I am too, but let me tell you, there have been times when I think they weren't going to be turned on again. They weren't going to be activated. And just getting through the day, getting through an hour, sometimes just even taking a shower was a huge accomplishment.
Oh, God.
And it's like, wow, how do people... I forgot even how to function like a normal person. How do people get through the day? How do they work? How do they go grocery shopping? How do they tend to things? Because a shower was a big deal. Or preparing a meal. It's like, wow, that cost a lot of energy. I'm down again. I got to recover from that.
We have, just in the clinic alone, hundreds of people that are bedridden from these type of things.
Yes.
And all types of things like this, where it's just the lymph system is down. A simple system that can be fixed, and you don't have to suffer from a teenager, so you had no fun in your life. You've had no enjoyment of the planet Earth because of man's consciousness. And we must change. This is why you all are so important in infusing, and she's wanting to do this, infuse this world with more awareness and truth. Because people don't have to suffer all her life and all that she went through. For those that are out there that know this, they know what you've been through. For some of you that don't know what going through something like this is, hell would be a nice word.
Agreed. Hell is like a step up or two.
Exactly.
Where you're like, wow, if I could get to hell, I feel like I'm making some progress.
Exactly.
And that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, it's not.
These suffering and conflicts helps us find meaning in our life. And the having conflicts, which to me this is a conflict. I'm in Hellville and I want to get out. This is like a personal trainer to your character, And this is the time where one has to go within and really understand, or not understand, let's just say willing to hear the truth. Willing to hear the truth when possibly every single person around you, your immediate family, your spouse, your parents, your doctor who's talking to you all the time, where seemingly all of these people around you disagree with what you now are awakened to as the truth.
Oh, man.
So here's the thing. Once you think you hear the truth, you feel the ping in your gut, the gut feeling, the inner knowing. But every single person around you is like, that's crazy. You're crazy. No, I can't get on board with you. If you're not going to have surgery, if you're not going to do that, I'm not going to support you. All of these things where, all in all, you're kind of feeling like you're left alone. You're on your own, which ultimately we all are anyway.
Yeah.
This is the time to ask yourself, what do I want to create? What do I want as the outcome of my life? And if the outcome is wellness, which includes doing things you like, accomplishing your goals and dreams, finding a love partner, or maintaining your love relationship, just getting your daily round in. If that includes that, then it's imperative that you have the courage to follow that truth, even when you're surrounded by everyone who's saying, no, you're crazy, don't do it, I'm not on board. They'll leave your life, they'll fall out of your life, and you keep walking ahead to Willville. It's not a straight walk. It's a curvy, and sometimes you're in reverse. But you keep going ahead and follow your truth and have the courage to hear it and have the eyes to see it, have the ears to hear it, have the heart to know and to recognize, and the faith and courage and determination to have a better life.
I think, you bring up a really good point, and I see this in the female principle more than the male principle, is they're such loves and caregivers, the females, and it's just that females have to start claiming their warriorness, their self again, because you guys are such caregivers and such loves, but you have to love yourself too, ladies, and take care of yourself. I have ladies that their husbands are so heavy they sneak to see me, and we've seen that in the medical community a lot. I have a lot of medical doctors' wives or husbands who sneak in here to get well. And we have a lot of YouTubers that do the same thing because their husbands or wives or whoever. I've had so many cases where the family members were so mean to their loved ones for following this that they pushed them into chemo or whatever, and they're now giving flowers on their graves. And I see this so much that now I just have a thing like, you want to see your family member killed? Just go ahead and take them that way then. Because this is just, it's bad out there with that. And it's fear-based.
It's all fear-based.
And if you're going to fear anything, you want to fear the AMA and their tactics. Because those guys have no clue to what causes anything. None of the diseases they've created, the names they've created, they have no idea the causative factors of these things. And if you don't understand acidosis and the lymphatic system and how the body works in its simplistic design, then you can fractionalize. Then you have no idea. You're treating what you don't understand. You're complicating your patient's health even more. And they could have taken you right on out, but just the treatment-based thing.
Well, and as I said, I have had, when I say near-death situations, I'm not saying I'm just in bed, not feeling well. I'm saying
out of body.
I've been out of body numerous times. I have. And then back, and then also I have been sent home saying there's nothing more, you probably die within a week. Now, I do want to share a quick story that may enlighten someone. I am a bold person. I am a warrior. I happen to have been given the name Athena, which she is a warrior goddess.
I knew that.
Yes. And it's you there is no way to continue on without tapping into your warrior self. The two go together. Because although I don't like the word fight, I'm fighting this illness, I'm fighting this, there is a sense of this, as in you're the dragon slayer. You got to come up and be the warrior and be ready to take on whatever's going to come up.
Sure.
Emotionally, psychologically, spiritually,
Absolutely.
physically, which all of it will. One time when I was in the hospital, one of many times, where I had been in there for a month, I had a feeding line, which then caused problems and blood clots to my chest. In order to dissipate the blood clots, then we had to do the shots in the stomach. It was like going from bad to worse.
See, people don't have any idea of all these little things that you went through, and many others go through, in the hidden recesses of hospitals and things like this, in the treatment of what one does not understand.
Correct.
And claims autoimmune. It is sickening.
It's sickening. And then you're on this downward spiral where if you make it, if you come out, and you're barely hanging on, now is the time where you've got to want it more than anything. Because coming back from not just now the illness, but from all of these complications, is where you're worn out. You're barely hanging on. And what I do want to say is the words that the doctors and the AMA say to a person, unfortunately, holds a lot of weight. For example, when I was told numerous times, well, you'll probably die within a week. We can't do any more if you're unwilling to have the surgery. Now, for a lot of people, they would take that as the gospel, and guess what? Be dead within a week.
Yeah.
Because
have their bowels removed.
Or have their bowels removed, which, by the way, if you're in a very weakened state, an ill state, surviving the surgery is already a big task, let alone coming back from the surgery.
Yeah.
And then having that be successful, and on and on and on.
And then having a bag the rest of your life.
And having a bag the
That'd be
rest of
fun.
your life. Right, exactly. Now, I've been a dancer most of my whole life. I was a hip-hop dancer and all different type of dance. So in periods of, wellness, I dance. So the thought of anything like a bag or anything holding me back or jiggling or spilling or, any kind of nightmare like that was like not an option.
Yeah, yeah.
Not an option.
I know.
So one time this doctor had said to me about, I'm going to die in that. Now, already I know I'm dying. I'm pretty weak. In my mind, I got nothing to lose. So I said to him, really? You know this? And he said, yes. Of course, you will hear how confident they are in telling you these types of things. And I'm thinking, even though I'm not thinking real clearly, it's like, he must be some kind of Nostradamus then if he can make this statement. So I said, hey, how much money do you make a year? Whoa, what do you mean? Why do you ask that? Okay. Well, you don't have to tell me, but why don't you take a week of that yearly salary, write me a check, and put it in an envelope and say, I guarantee you'll be dead in a week. Because at that point, you won't be losing any money since you're so confident in telling me this.
Didn't like that, did you?
Well, no, that went over like a lead balloon. And he was pretty irate. He was pretty upset. Now, in my mind, I'm in a hospital bed, I'm not doing well, what do I care?
Yeah.
But I wanted to show that, I said, so you're not that sure. You're not willing to write the check, knowing you'll never pay me the amount because I'll be dead in a week. So I won't even see it. Well, of course he didn't write the check. Of course he didn't tell me anything like that. He did storm out of the room and refuse to see me again and assigned a new doctor to me.
It's understandable.
Yeah. But my whole point is this. If any human can predict such a thing and be accurate, have you ever met anyone who could?
No, well, I know some psychics.
Yeah, okay.
And then, you get your spiritual guys telling you when you're going to go. But outside of that, the sad thing is that they do use these things. But you realize that this is what they see. So their arrogance brings that forth. So there's no room for anything but that in their consciousness. And it's a sad thing because it's a karmic thing for them. And so these poor souls that are playing medical doctors are going to be trapped for quite a while in working off all this karma. And it's just all karma. So you went through this, but it's all karma. The spirituality you gain from this is incredible. Out-of-body. When you have an out-of-body experience, you can't put anything on it because you suddenly realize you're non-physical. And if anything will help put a smile on your face and give you hope inside, is to realize this is just a physical body. You're going to leave it down and you're going to take off when it's your time to go.
True. I mean, we don't own anything in this life. We don't even own this. We're borrowing it to have this experience here in human form. This is our earth suit.
I love that. Earth suit. I like that.
Our earth meat suit.
I like that.
You know, and because we're spiritual, and I've been with someone who's passing, you can clearly see when they've left the building, so to speak, Elvis style. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you see the vessel, but you also realize, wow, that's not the person. It's changed. They've left.
Who was it? I can't remember. Who was it that tried to weigh the soul? Was it Nostradamus? Was it Nostradamus, or was it? I can't remember who that was that tried to weigh the soul, and they did get a weight. They had a man that they had on a weight, and he passed. And when the soul left, there was a fractional weight difference.
Wow!
And I can't remember who did that, whether it was Nostradamus or
I don't know the name. But that is...
Yeah, interesting stuff people have tried through the,
It's really interesting. And I want to talk about, just touch back just a little bit reverse to the subject of someone predicting our death for us.
Okay.
Yes, of course I believe in psychic, and I know a lot about all that.
Yeah.
But the other part is the will of the spirit is huge. It can overcome or trump a lot of things that don't seem in the favor, the will. And conversely, one can do your protocol, one can take the herbs, but if the will to live isn't there,
agreed. Totally,
it's not going to work.
Right, 100% agreed with that. And that's a good point. And some of you guys that are advanced in your cancers and things, it just means you're advanced in your inflammation and your acidosis, and now you're breaking down your cells. That's all that is. And you can reverse that at any time you decide to reverse that.
Yes.
If you claim, and you brought this up when we were talking earlier about claiming your quote-unquote disease, which is just simply man-made, everything, you have to realize, everything in science is cause and effect. Nothing's outside of that. If we label or whatever, that's the mind and the emotional components. The mind particularly likes to put labels on things, but in reality, everything is simply cause and effect. So, I got to ask you a question. When you were going through all this insanity, what diet did they recommend you to be on?
Well, first off, the standard meat and potatoes, standard American diet of inflammation and acidosis. And I said, well, first off, I've been a vegetarian since I was about 13, 14. No can do.
Good, excellent. They recommend a high protein diet.
But then they recommend a high protein diet. Last summer, this man comes in, a GI doctor, and he was checking on my progress. And he said, I noticed you haven't eaten. I said, I will when I'm ready. Okay, well, just make sure you do. I know you're a vegetarian. Eat lots and lots of beans and rice. And I looked at him and I said, ooh.
Oh,
ouch.
Yeah, I don't think
so.
Oh, excuse me.
Time out, no. I said, I said, well, thank you for your input. At this point, I don't want to be argumentative, because I could be. And I said, I'm working with someone, and we have everything in plan for how I would do. Well, what are you going to do? Well, I decided this would be a good time to educate a little bit and share what I am going to do. And I said, well, first of all, when I'm ready, I'm going to start very slowly with a small amount of fruit. At that time, I started with, in the hospital before I left, I asked them only for a melon plate.
Oh, good.
So it was cantaloupe and honeydew, and I'd eat as much as I could, maybe a couple pieces. And I'd do that for a while. When I did get home, I really like fruit smoothies. When I drink something blended, it feels better on the tummy than having to.
Absolutely,
It's a little
Absolutely.
digested down.
Absolutely.
So that's what I did. And he said, "Ready? You know what I'm gonna say, right? It starts with the P. What about your protein levels?" And I said, "Oh yeah, there's a lot of amino acids in fruits and veggies. I'll be just fine." And then I could tell he just didn't want to go on with this conversation.
He knew you knew.
He knew I knew, and he was also like, "I'm gonna now spend more time when I've got, more people to see." Yep. So we parted ways friendly enough.
Can you imagine, though, understanding the very nature of protein? And you know this last study that's been on the news now, yesterday and today, about the meats, especially of course the nitrates and all the chemicals in the meats. But they all are linked to colon cancer. Now look at all the people. Look at all the meat eaters. The meat eaters are like scrambling to find a way to overcome this 30-year study that showed that protein at this level is linked to colon cancer. We all know why. It's putrefactive, it's acidic. We all know why all this is happening. But look at this, and now all the meat eaters are backing up, saying, well, if you just have a little, and maybe they're wrong. This is the World Health Organization. They're crazy. You see all the people. They did the same thing on mammograms. And yet, the government has said consistently mammograms cause cancer. Mammograms causes cancer. We all know that. We've seen that in the clinic. And yet there's the people. Well, they back up. Well, you got to know. This is the insanity of the mind. The souls are trapped in this idiocy thinking, and these levels of the mind will keep you trapped in Hellville for as long as you want to stay there. So, you got to pull yourselves out, just like you did. But that's that spiritual nature of yours, see? Those that are not cultivating their spirituality, they succumb to it. They go, yes, sir. Anything you say, sir.
Well, and that's just it. I'm not a person who likes to hand decisions over to people I don't know. Who, yes, they have a title, but I don't know them.
Exactly.
I don't know what their bias
Always
is.
question. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Question me, I don't care.
I do.
Always question. You do, and I don't care. I love it because truth is truth. And
truth is truth.
It is.
And here's the thing, whenever, it's like going to a restaurant and a server comes up and you say, I want food. Okay, here's the menu. Just give me some food. Well, if you're not specific about what you're asking for or what you want, guess what? You'll be served anything, and then you have to take it.
Exactly.
And we'll talk about food too soon, because I do want to talk about another insanity with food and digestive illnesses, or any illness, but specifically we're talking about ulcerative colitis and Crohn's today. But I do want to say that it's those who don't question. It's those who take what anyone says is the gospel that are in dangerous territory, to be honest with you.
You are in dangerous territory because what you are is a leaf blowing in the wind.
Correct.
And you're bumping off of people that don't know either. You know,
they
go to school. You go to school to study other people's ideas. And the problem in science with that is theory, hypotheses, and the theories. Well, you can theory yourself to death all you want, but in practice, what are you seeing? In actual practice, what's going on? It's like double-blind studies. Medical doctors like to quote them sometimes, and I have to laugh because 60 Minutes obviously shut those down a little bit and said most of them are idiocies. But what on the patient, actualities, you can make any study fit your consciousness or whatever you want. That's what 60 Minutes found. Mm-hmm. Whoever pays for the study wins the study.
Whoever pays for the study. Again, questioning, well, who's behind this study?
Exactly.
Is it a pharmaceutical company?
Exactly.
Often. Mm-hmm. And so these are the things like peeling back the layer and looking behind the curtain.
Exactly.
What's really going on here? It's the same thing with the body. I'm experiencing all of these symptoms. My body is trying to tell me something through a symptom of pain, through a symptom of bleeding, through all of these symptoms. It's like, okay, I do have all these symptoms. What does it mean?
So what is the underlying cause
Yes.
of pain and bleeding? Acidosis.
Acidosis.
That's it. There's only two sides to chemistry,
Correct.
so you can't walk too far. You can guess, but we know that one side's the builder, one side's the antagonist, or the corrosive side. Everybody in chemistry knows that, but you're stuck in theories. So a lot of chemists who know about acidosis still runs with the theory of alkalosis a lot of times, and it just, when you start examining the world of biochemistry, you pull your hair out. You know, at one time, I had this, of course, and most, I think, reputable healers want that. I know Attila was wanting this, to explain through chemistry and physics the whole 9 yards of how the body works physiologically.
Mm-hmm.
Impossible. Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You run up against walls everywhere you turn when you get into the subatomic particles and things like this and ionization. You can get up against a lot of walls. And it doesn't matter because the proof is simple in how it works, how it cleans you. Why dig deep into areas of the mind that get you lost and you'll never see the whole with fractional thinking because you're fractionally thinking?
Well, that's it. And the other thing is the mind. We've been conditioned in this society of school, academics, intellectualism, to expect something that won't be simple. Now, there's a difference.
That's a good point.
Yes, there's a difference between simple and easy. The program is simple.
That's a good point.
Yes, the program is simple. However, the compliance, the consistency,
The healing crisis.
the healing crisis, which comes depending on the person, is different. But I have had severe healing crisis.
You ended in the hospital with the healing crisis.
Yes,
Yes.
twice actually.
It's tough.
Really severe healing crisis. Now, I could have just folded and said, well, shoot, this isn't working now, is it? Well, yes, but I mean, I have all these years I had to discreate.
You knew inside it was taking you down a good road, and you kept
I
right
did
and
know.
right, and now you're on the other side.
I did know, and that's what I was speaking to earlier. That's why I'm here, because I want to show real people. I'm a real person, just like you, on the other side of that camera, watching videos. In fact, let me go on to say that this has been my best friend for some years while I've been bedbound, and if you've ever been really ill, you know you have a hard time concentrating. Reading is difficult, talking can be difficult. I go within. I'm not on the phone ringing up speaking people. I'm meditating. I'm going within. However, when I've had enough time of going within and I need a break, I'm also listening to a lot of Dr. Morse videos. Not only are your videos filled with information on how to get us from Hellville to Wellville, not only are they educational, they're inspirational and encouraging. So on the other side, listening and watching you is like, yes, I can keep going. Yes, I can, because every time in every one of your videos, you identify with our suffering. You identify that you know it's not easy. And it's through your dedication. This man is here in service. He's not charging. He gives his time. He's giving this most valuable, treasured information. And all we have to do is believe and desire. And of course, have the discipline to do it. But
that's what it takes, is a sense of self, a little bit of self-love, just a little bit, not a narcissistic type of thing, but a little like, I'm okay.
Well, and also that you want better.
Yeah.
That you want better. It's like, man, this just can't be as good as it gets. Because if this is as good as it gets, I really don't want to keep going at this level.
Exactly.
Like, what's the fun here?
Exactly.
I can't do what I've come to do on this planet if I'm bedridden and always looking at the window. You know when you're a little kid and you're sick, maybe you have a cold, but your parents put you in, someone comes knocking at the door, we'll use your name. can Robert come out and play? No, honey, he's sick today. He can't come in. Well, when you're at this level of debilitation, this is your life. You're looking out the window, watching the world go by, literally watching your loved ones leave for work, go to their life, go to their things, and it's like you have this permanent sign on your door, I can't come out and play today, or tomorrow, or next month,
wow.
right?
Sad stuff. It is. I
Isn't
know
that
it.
kind of interesting?
Oh,
That's how
very.
I felt. It's like this permanent sign of Athena can't come out, she can't come play, she can't come work, she can't dance, she can't really do much of anything. And when I would, that was the story though that I also bought into, which I want to talk about. But I also said, this just cannot be as good as it gets. If it is, I'm heading out. I'm heading out. But I want to say, our life, is a storied affair. Our life is just a series of stories that we tell ourselves, that we tell others. But what's most important here, to begin with, I think, is what we tell ourselves. And the stories we tell ourselves affects how we feel about ourselves. And when that affects how we feel about ourselves, that affects the unfolding of our lives. So it's very important to step outside of our current story. And when you're in the middle of suffering and pain and loss and all sorts of conflict, it is difficult to step out and see the bigger picture.
It is.
It is difficult.
It is very difficult. And you're so right on with that. That was something I was thinking about the other day. Pain just closes you off. Locks
Like
you
this.
back. Exactly.
Like this.
Exactly. And it takes you away from God and spirituality. It closes you and puts you in the fetal position again. It's like, no, you don't have to live with that. You just have to understand this is a very low level aware planet, and now all these beautiful souls that are aware and have been suffering are getting through their suffering and coming out and helping. And this is so important. Hildy the same way, so many of you the same way, Karen, all of you guys that have suffered in pain and bedridden for years, you're now coming out and showing the world you don't have to put up with that. You don't have to put up with the idiocy of thinking of physicians. You can understand truth and pave your new road to Wellville. And you've done such a great job. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Amen and a woman. And I want to
Hey, I'm for the power of the woman. Let me tell you, I am. For
I
the
know
warrior
you
woman.
are. And I want to emphasize that right now in this time period that we're all existing, it's imperative. It's so important for women to stand up and use their voice. Sometimes I think, and I too have had thyroid challenges, a hypo, underactive thyroid. I feel like often because the thyroid is connected with the speaking ability and the voice, and I feel like for women, not just to improve a thyroid condition, but now is the time to step into ourselves and into our voice and use it. Use it to help your fellow women, your sisters on this planet, but to also now shift the consciousness to the male-dominated to make it more balanced and help show them the way as well.
You get to really right on with that, because there's so many males out there that are lost to the feminine principle, and without that, it's hard for them to find their way to God and spirituality. And also for the academics, you have to be very careful not to put all your marbles on the mind when that's only a mental body that we use like our earthly body. It's just a body. It isn't you. It isn't consciousness. And that's what you want to hit. And that's why I keep preaching about learn how to pull back from thinking a little bit, learn to observe and enjoy life and play, and not get lost in thought and desire. Because those are the two things that bind you to these worlds.
Correct. And may I add, nature. Let's become really more like the non-human animals. Let's take instruction after them in the sense of tapping into our intuition. People don't know when, why, how, where to eat for their wellness. They're asking everything. And here's the thing, if you go within and listen, you'll know. For example, non-human animals, when they're ill, they don't eat. If you have animals, you'll understand that they don't eat until they're feeling well enough. But yet, when humans or people are ill and they really, don't feel like eating, they keep eating.
Yeah.
They keep eating, and at a certain point, no matter what you're eating, I'll even go far to say is fruit. That's an inflammation. It's like, just give it a break.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
If you're not hungry and the thought of food kind of makes you nauseous, or you want to vomit, or you're just like, I can't stomach it, there's your sign. Don't stomach it.
See, when you were in the hospital and the physician said eat, you were trying to tell him that you need to fast. You're inflamed. You don't need to put any type of chemistry down there that can exacerbate, even astringent chemistry.
Right, it's all
hurt.
chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Even fruits can hurt because it's astringent.
That's it.
They're not acid to tear it apart, but they're astringent, so you can feel the drawing and pulling. So, yeah, when you have this level of problem, it's touch and go. It's moving right, as you said earlier, and moving left. You have to work yourself through because,
you really
and
do.
you put it in the hospital a few times. This is how advanced her case and a lot of your
Yes.
cases are. You can win the day, and you don't have to put up with this idiocy thinking. Although sometimes we have to use their facilities because they have nicer facilities sometimes where they have the nice equipment that money paid for. Anybody can learn how to use that equipment.
It's true, and an example would be last year when I did refuse at that time any type of medications, as in pain management, antibiotics. I had C. diff, and they're like, you're going to die, this and that. And I will say this about death before I go on this tangent, because I digress a lot like you.
I'm bad about that. I know. I've been called out on the plate.
We'll reel each other in. Death is not a failure. It's a transition. It's a portal to another realm. So when people, a lot of people have said to me, well, you're too young to die. I'm not even really sure what that means exactly. But this is in the hospital, or doctors saying this. And I have turned and I said, at least in our American culture, we view it this way as a failure. Death is not a failure. Not one of us is getting out from that realm.
Exactly.
And it is a portal to another side. Again, this is our earth suit. We're going to another adventure, if you will.
Well, once you've had an out-of-body experience, you notice those that have, and most of them don't go that far. So imagine your spiritual guide.
Thankfully,
Yeah, but imagine your spiritual guide taking you out and taking you to a crystalline city where the walls and gates of the city are jewels, and that the light is so intense, and that when you go into these temples and things to study, you walk up to a book made of light, and it encases you, and the knowledge pulls all through you. Those are fun.
That's like a dreamy experience.
Those are fun.
I mean, it's so beautiful that one can't really imagine that kind of beauty.
Unreal.
It's unreal.
That's why I'm such a God lover, because this is beautiful, but at the ass end of beauty.
Yes, and it is beautiful, and it is wonderful. I mean, when people ask me about hell, I say we have hell on earth. I mean, that's the hell.
Yeah. To a lot of spiritual people, this is hell.
Yeah. I mean, that's not saying
there
there isn't
heaven.
heaven.
Make it feel good while you're here.
Exactly.
While you suffer, here's a few flowers to make you feel halfway good.
and love experienced, given, and received in a deep and meaningful way is heaven on earth.
It is. Now, with all this said, I will say this, and I'm going to be a little positive with the hospitals a little bit, because we do need them, but we need some major changes in them. First of all, quit ripping people off so much. The hospitals are just ripping so hard. It's unreal what they charge.
Oh, I know what they charge. I almost brought my bills in, but we're going to make more videos.
Did they go over $1 million yet? Well, they had to.
Well, there was a period where I didn't have health insurance, where I was in the hospital for over a month. And let me...
What was the bill on that one? Out of curiosity.
I don't know how many
200?
hundreds. Yeah, about that.
200 or 300,000.
And
How could anybody physically pay for something like that?
well, that alone, having that bill hang over your head, if you weren't sick before,
Okay.
the stress of facing that when you
Oh, yeah.
come out
Oh,
is
Oh yeah.
you either buy into that stress, and believe me, I did at one point where
Oh, I
I got
bet.
even more sick.
Oh, I
and it's
bet.
like,
Oh, I can
wow, the
imagine.
pressure of that is too much.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
But with that said, I
yeah.
want to say this, is that sometimes we have to go in to stabilize, even
We
in a
do.
healing crisis. Even in a healing crisis, you have to admit. Even if you get in and go normal saline and that, and you just get a run through and you just...
I'm telling you, I have to admit, and please,
Yeah.
anyone out there who's suffering to that level, and when it's time to go, I understand you want to do anything but go and pack your bag and be taken to the emergency room. Probably is where you end up.
Yeah.
But I understand. But here's the thing: what Dr. Morse just said. For example, last year when I was in with my legs and that whole situation, I did reject all medication, which in the past, I can go through my list of prescriptions I've been on and no one will believe it.
Holy crap.
But let's put it this way. You can say no.
Yes.
Now, they'll send people in and talk to you and try and convince you, don't get me wrong. But you can turn down treatments. A lot of people, once they get in there, they just take
Exactly.
whatever anyone says.
Exactly.
And I said, I just need straight saline because I was so dehydrated. It was going to take me a good week to
Sure.
become stable. While I was in the hospital, though, what did I do? I didn't eat. I just fasted to give the whole digestive system a break. And I also had
Good idea.
herbs smuggled in. I don't want to say smuggled, but you know, Dr. Morse was working with a loved one of mine, and they were talking on the phone, toxin absorber, where they'd fix that in a juice for me. So I'm on a protocol, okay, as much as I could. Now understand,
Yeah.
I felt very ill, and just taking a lot was too much for me at the time. But the point here is, Dr. Morse is right. Hospitals are good for certain things, and please have the wisdom to know
Exactly.
when to hold them and when to fold them
Exactly.
for this
That's why I
particular
use that.
time.
Exactly.
And sometimes, as much as you're resisting, it's like, I gotta fold it. I gotta admit, I gotta get to the emergency
Yeah,
room
yeah.
because you know, at a certain
Yeah.
point, you are in that critical point, and if all you do is take saline and you turn down everything else, and that's a personal decision of how strong you feel about your direction and your faith in what you're doing. I felt very strong in my faith about this protocol, but I also knew I had to get through this really rocky time. And you can't, dehydration, you're going to die of dehydration way before you're
Yeah.
ever going to die of starvation
Yeah.
from not eating.
And of course, when you're systemically involved, like she was in the lymph, it's systemic acidosis. So you're majorly dehydrated, and a dehydration that's not easy just to hydrate with normal saline.
No.
So this is why the astringents, why the kidney, I mean, this is why this is a whole understanding of how there's filtration in the kidneys and the adrenals and how all of it works. But hydration, I mean, you had to be extreme, being that acidic that long, you had to be extremely interstitially dehydrated.
Yes, I still think I am to some
Oh, I bet.
degree. And, you know, again, it's a process and working through it. And that's it. Here we have to have patience.
Yeah.
We have to have
idea.
persistence.
I like both of those things.
Yeah, patience, persistence, practicality.
Oh, yes.
And that's coming back to the hospital of saying, well, I'm on this course, I'm not going to go. Well, that could be a fatal decision too. So you have to have the practicality and
Yeah.
wisdom
Sure.
of not just to,
There's no sin in anything like that.
there's no sin.
They're there to help. They're supposed to help. It's just that the idiocy of medical thinking is partly involved. But that's okay, because as you guys learn, you can do just what you said. You can say, well, I can't take that, but I'll be willing to, you know, you can work with that. Because some things are really a detriment to take, and other things not so much. But when you're in a stat need, you gotta trust that hospital a little bit. Some are better than others, there's no question. Than some ER docs. I spent a lot of years in ER, so
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with the quality of that sort of thing. it would be nice if we all started understanding truth and held hands. So when you went in, they said, okay, you need to be on a raw food diet. We're going to do this and this to you. We're going to help you out. We're going to, work with you with the natural herbal anti-inflammatories. We're going to start pulling that lymph, and start, if you want to have fancy machines, have machines that help to hydrate and things energetically. Things that are beneficial in helping pull people out of these healing crises and helping to promote the function of kidneys and adrenals. Not to suppress those functions. And that's what pharmaceuticals are involved in, the suppression. So when you came out, the blowback is coming again. That's the problem.
The blowback's coming, and when it comes, it feels like it's hitting you harder than it's ever hit before.
Oh, yes.
I want to make this statement.
Water?
I'm good, thank you for now. I appreciate that, though. It's a nice mug.
Keeps it cold.
Yeah. The pharmaceutical industry is never going to go to market with anything that cures. Simple math. Simple math is this. I come to market with something that cures, you don't need me.
Right.
I don't make money.
Right.
I'm out of business.
Right.
Is that too simple?
Nature of the beast.
Is that...
Well, it's all kind of was built on the boughs of compassion and healing for people, which is a lie. You have to understand the real compassion, the true healers, is what you're learning when you come to our schools, is those that are compassionate, that understands how you heal and what causes things and how you heal it naturally without the ripping and tearing of pharmaceuticals. You can go walk and create so many more problems taking pharmaceuticals than you did if you did not do anything.
That's it.
You have to be careful.
It. I mean, the side effects
can
often be worse than the actual symptoms of the quote-unquote disease you're experiencing. I mean, when you combine that all together, it is a chemistry stew that you don't want to eat from, let's just say.
Yeah.
And I feel like, hey, I learned something about prednisone. Prednisone, some people call it the devil's Tic Tacs, or lots of
There's a lot of names on
There's a lot of names, but I will say this: if you've been on prednisone, you pretty much know that you don't want to go through that again. You're going to be hanging on to almost any other thing and fighting, but then you end up on it. But I do want to say this: what I learned. Have you ever heard of? It's called VAMP. It's an acronym, VAMP or MOPP from the 60s. Well, I can't remember all of the names of what it stands for, but the P in the VAMP and the P in the MOP, MOPP, is prednisone. Oh, wow. This was a 4 prescription treatment in the 60s for cancer.
Kidding.
It's a chemotherapy mix, which makes me wonder what prednisone really is.
Well,
if it was treated in combination as a chemotherapy in the 60s.
I'm amazed they didn't treat you with chemo.
Guess what? 2 years ago, I'm not going to share the full story here, I got unauthorized chemo.
Oh my God.
And so it was the stint I was in, not last year, the year before. But that's a whole other story. Well, a couple months after that, we're going to go to the hair now. I lost about half my hair on my head.
Jesus Christ.
I had bald patches, and I thought, wow. I mean, could this be, because they did put me on prednisone for a little while, and you do lose hair some, but I'm talking about half my hair and bald patches. Well, 2 years ago, I ended up getting all my hair cut off. I used to have long hair for all of my life, and it's growing back now, and guess what? It's filled in. So there's hope, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
My hair designer said, I'll be surprised if your hair grows back, because most people who lose this kind of hair don't. And I said, I have every intention. And it does. So I have pretty much a full hair.
Beautiful. I love curly hair too. Absolutely. And this is the thing is, I love this field because it's such a feel-good field. You can make your body into a beautiful thing again. You can do all kinds of things you want. And, of course, the spirituality you gain out of the self-discipline and out of the awareness. So this is why sometimes the
Yes.
negative experiences, as bad and as hellish as it is,
And it is.
blossoms into a positive glory. And that's why it exists. So yeah, we go through the scraping and all that, but then the blossoming, if you don't allow that to happen, you will never blossom.
That's right.
And you want to blossom and allow yourself to grow spiritually, because one day it's your time to actually leave this planet.
Right.
And you want to do it knowingly, consciously, and everything else. You don't want to be ripped out of the body and everything else. You want to know where you're going, what you're doing. You want your spiritual guide on one side, whoever on the other. You want to maybe go wherever you're going. You want to, it's just it's just like this level. It's awareness, it's knowingness, it's understanding. It's not dark, fearful, and unknowing.
Correct.
That's-
And leaving is very important to leave clear, calm, and bright, and
Very.
as aware as you can, which means, like when I was leaving, I did not want any drugs to make me hazy or not understand where I am and be very
Exactly.
disoriented. How you exit is extremely important. I mean, I'll go to say how you enter, but unfortunately, we're dependent on our mamas and other people to do that for us. But how you
Unless you're
exit,
going to walk in.
yeah, unless you're walking. True, unless you're walking. But this is something you can have control over and tell the people around you, write something out. And so yes, this whole beautiful thing we're here to talk about is the possibilities, the probabilities,
And the actuality.
and the actuality of regeneration.
Oh, yeah. You're living proof.
I'm living
and so
proof.
many of them are out there, and it's so heartfelt, because this world has a chance. Because you guys, one guy sitting in an office doesn't do anything, but a whole bunch of you guys out there helping others does a lot. And that's the vitalness of this.
It is the vitalness and if one person watching this video is like, oh, I'm so
man.
glad she was here today. It's so good to see a real person
Yes.
who's come, so not in a week I didn't, not in a year I didn't. And I'm still working out some imbalances, as it's going to take some
Sure.
time. But the fact that I could actually be here
Isn't that
with
cool?
you, sitting in, oh my gosh, it's just, it's a great pleasure. And the thing about inflammatory bowel disease with food, I know this is kind of a non sequitur, but I have to bring this up. Years ago, I was at a Crohn's and colitis support meeting, for
Sure.
people.
Absolutely.
And in real life, not on the internet. And there was some expert GI from Mount Sinai, no names mentioned, but a real big name. The room was packed. People were packed with their relatives, with their parents, eager to hear some kernel of information that might change their life. I was one of them, eager. And I'm sitting with a loved one. And this is before I knew anything, really. I'm suffering, doing the standard protocols, years before I heard of you. And this man comes on, and everyone's eagerly awaiting the nuggets of wisdom and help that will come from his mouth. And in one of his statements, he said, look, eat whatever you want. It doesn't affect anything. I mean, you're suffering enough. If you just eat whatever you want, you'll be fine. And I remember I was in a state of shock. Now understand, it's not like I'm that knowledgeable.
Right.
It's
But
not like this.
you knew inside.
Right. I said, now hold on. I have, quote unquote, a digestive disease. But maybe I could eat, broken glass, and that won't make, can I just put anything down my throat and it wouldn't affect the alimentary canal, the
Oh, my
digestive
God.
system? And I stood up. A little bold, but also I couldn't even control it. I was reacting. I'm like, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense to me. How could we put anything in our mouth and it won't affect anything? No, you're suffering enough. It doesn't make a difference. I got up, I turned to my loved one, I said, we got to go. We're not staying here 1 minute longer. And he's like,
cool.
hold on, you're making a scene. I said, scene or not, I'm stepping out, stay here. You can listen. I have nothing else to listen to. This is crazy talk.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly crazy talk.
It's crazy talk. Now, here's the thing. Dr. Morse, I don't know if you're familiar with this. In our current culture, people are, they're food obsessed.
Oh.
Well, our food is connected into one of the biggest taboo topics in the country, and that is called poop. It's a taboo topic now, but our culture is obsessed with food, taking photos and posting them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what I'm eating now. They take videos of their food. They exchange recipes. Everything is food and what you're eating. But let me tell you this. You bring up the outcome of food and you bring up poop, oh, you're going to be on the B list for a supper party. No one's going to want to invite you, especially as a woman. I'm telling you. It's like, you're gross. That's gross. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And it's not like I want to be the poster child for
poop.
For poop. Poop is just another O for pop. But anyway, it's important that we understand this is a bodily function, just like eating, just like having sex, just like anything that is not to be embarrassed about. There's not one living organism, including ourselves, that doesn't eat and poop.
That's it. Everything eliminates waste. Now, if you're a dead animal eater, you might not like the smell of your waste. But if you're a fruit eater, it might be a different story. It just makes such a difference. And think about this. This man told you to have rice and beans, all right?
Lots of beans.
So here we've got beans. We've got a dead food. We have high phytic acid. We have enzyme inhibitors, of course, which kind of phytic acid is. We have high sulfur. So we have high protein. So we have a major gassy bloater irritator of the bowel lining mixed with a starch, which automatically stops the digestion of both. So now you have putrefaction and fermentation both taking place in the gut on the wall that's already inflamed from inside the wall. And so these burns are all the way through. These burns for these people are all the way through.
Sure enough.
That's why it's just like interstitial cystitis. These burns are all the way friggin' through. And this is serious stuff. And to tell somebody to have foods that putrefy or ferment and foods that are irritating, foods that are high sulfur, foods that don't digest worth a crap, and you tell them to eat this is the kind of idiocy that has to stop.
It has to stop, and we have to listen to our intuition and become connected to ourselves and our intuition, not our mind. Not the thoughts interfere of, thoughts like, I need protein. There's no fiber in meat. There's no fiber in cooked meat. It's a dead, we'll talk about that another time, but if we're talking about just helping move through the bowel, there's not 1 ounce of fiber in dead meat. Cooked meat. I guess dead meat is kind of a
here's a good idea.
term.
Go fishing and then catch a fish, which I always think when the fish is doing like this, they're going, help me.
They are.
They can help me. Throw that thing back in.
That's exactly what it looks like.
I know it's helped me.
It
but
is.
You see how quick they stink when fish die. That's how fast putrefaction sets in. Matter of fact, as soon as something dies, flies are already around it. If you're a hunter, you already know this. So the call of the wild is there. And we actually wait 6 months before we eat something like that. Or a couple, we like aged meat. And it's just revolting because it's just dead tissue. Where's life in that? Where's vibrancy in a fruit where you have beautiful flavors and flavonoids and things that love you and take out the pain and swelling for something that's gross and mundane and putrefactive and of course now, we've known this for years. This study that was out by the World Health Organization just echoes what studies we've been watching for 50 years. This isn't no new information out there. Nitrates and nitrates are all cancer carcinogenic. We already knew that, and yet they still use nitrates and everything. I mean, we're just a society that doesn't care about your health. We only care about your money. That's because the World Bank controls things. So, it's just learning how to become detached. Who's controlling the things, and don't get involved in it. Be free from that. And find your way. Find your way in health. And we've given you all the ways. We've also given you some shortcuts to spirituality. So have fun with all these things.
And it is fun. I mean, going through hell in the process isn't necessarily fun. Let's be real about that. That's not a fun time.
Not a fun thing.
And a lot of people say this, why me? Why me? Now, we can ask that another way. Why me? What am I supposed to learn from this?
Well, why not you?
Why not you? And the question is, why me? Why am I here today? I mean, I've traveled. I went through some big travels to come here and be with you today and be with all of you. And I had enough obstacles in my way to keep testing me as to my determination of how much do I really want this? What do I want the outcome to be? There were, I'm not going to lie, a couple of times when I said, I can't make this journey. It's too hard physically. And I could translate that to the health challenge, the health invitation. Here's an invitation to get well. Yeah. You're going to have a lot of bumps and some boingy boings where your brakes might even go out, or your car gives out and you sit there, what am I going to do? I can't make this journey. You can if you really want to make the journey, and you just take what I call a spiritual flat tire.
Exactly. Go in and
reinflate. You got to go within. I remember last year when I was laying down for a lot of time, and you're in and out of things. And I kept getting the vision of crystals, actual crystals covering my body.
Oh, nice.
Well, I said,
Nice.
I don't really have all those crystals. And I didn't end up purchasing them at the time because I wanted to go out and feel them myself and hand select, but I couldn't get out. I was going to go on eBay. I said, no, I still don't want to do that. But I kept having this vision. So a couple months later, when I got out of this and started walking again and was mobile and rehabilitating, I took myself on a trip to one of my favorite places in North Carolina, Asheville.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. So I ended up in a crystal shop. I was driving, and all of a sudden my car was pulled into this... It's a mining place where you can actually mine.
God.
Well, I walk in, and there's all these, rainbow crystals. It was like a candy store. And I walked in, I said, this is it. It's time, even though I'm now out of bed, I still need the crystals because I got the visions. So I went up in this, I'm sitting there, this woman said, she just came in, she goes, I like your hair, which was, an entry in her combo. I said, thank you. And she said, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm looking for crystals for certain healing for myself, but I don't know anything about what to get, and I'm a little overwhelmed. And she goes, well, actually, I'm an expert on working crystals. Even though I'm on vacation, how about I take time and help you? She spent 2 hours and helped feel the energy and was guided. And I said...
See, that's the thing.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, it is.
But there was patience. Now, at the time I received the visions, I couldn't do anything about the crystals. Well, I could have, I guess, ordered them somewhere. But again, they needed to be hand-selected and filled.
No, they needed to be hand-selected.
Yeah. And whenever I came out of this some months later, and I took myself on a trip, it was a short trip, and I happened to be in the store, and this woman graciously, on vacation she was, with her husband, and he waited, spent 2 hours of her time picking these out, and I had a little basket, and
That's so cool.
It's just, so here's this, the Rolling Stones song? You can't always get what you want, but you
can always get what you need.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true with healing.
Yes, it is.
It's true in life of,
and she could have been a spiritual guide there just set that whole thing set up for you. That they do that stuff. They set these things up, and sometimes you who was that person? And then they're gone.
And then they're gone. I've had that happen.
I know.
As if they vanished in thin air. And you're like, well, wait, now there's no car driving off.
Exactly.
They're gone.
Exactly. These,
like poof.
I tell you, these good masters, they like to do stuff like that, and I just love stuff like that. You know, it's all fun. That level when you open the spiritual doors, that's when fun really begins, because you just start soaring in your joy and your happiness and your sukha and your nirvanic experiences, and just the smallest things are fun. And it's just a change, and you appreciate the oneness of all things, that we're all here together, and that the suffering can be remedied. So this is all good stuff. I love this stuff.
It is good stuff.
You remember Dr. Jensen, he told me for years that at night he was taken out to these cities and taught crystal healing, but he didn't know what to do with it. It's a good chance that he's out helping souls like you, you know, and with the crystals and stuff on the inner planes, because there's life everywhere, and you can work from these planes and reach into these worlds. So incredibly incredible.
In being open to receive. And if you can't receive at a given time, then give.
Ooh, I like that.
And if you, because giving is receiving, first of all. If you feel like for whatever reason you're not worthy, you're not, all of these scripts, you're not practicing self-love, that for whatever reason you're not open to receive. And receiving includes receiving better health.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then give. And even if you're in bed, you're saying, well, what can I give? I can't even do this, or I can't even do that. You can always give a smile.
I love it.
And believe it or not, that smile and looking in someone's eyes can change the world. Can give someone hope that I was seen, I was noticed, I matter.
Yes.
And
but also know that each and every one of you come from the same source. We all come from the same source. We're all part of that same source. I like to look at it this way, that each and every one of you is simply God experiencing itself in an individualized form. Whether you're a plant, whether you're a horse, or whether you're in a Homo sapien body, or you're in a reptilian body. It doesn't matter what body you're in. There's a lot of bodies in these worlds. And it doesn't matter which one you're in, you're still that essence of consciousness, you are still from the Godhead. And when you appreciate that, and I see that in everyone, you're getting it. And that is a great, great level to be at.
It's the level to strive for.
It is.
It's the level to strive for. Speaking of different beings, I love different beings with different faces, specifically the non-human animals. And when you're on a journey and you're feeling alone, in the sense of the word, in the people world, there is no better companion than an animal by your side, a cat, a dog, a hamster, whatever.
Or a plant.
Or a plant. Very,
yeah.
I agree.
Plants will love you just like the animals will.
They will love you, and they're very responsive.
Oh yeah, everything is. And that's the beauty of seeing that you're never alone.
You're never alone.
Life is crammed everywhere. Your body's full of life molecularly. Your body's full of activity and life and its own little consciousnesses. You're actually not, this is just a living organism with life crammed in every nano level there is. You can't even fathom that mentally.
I love the feeling, not the saying, but the feeling of knowing you're never alone.
Yeah.
And when you can feel the beings, I live in a place, I won't say where I live, but I live in a place where near the mountains, and I hike a lot. And as soon as I step foot on a trail, and with the trees and the sounds and the birds and the life activating all around. These are all beings. Even the little ants and the little marching is when you see.
Even the rocks.
Even the rocks.
Crystals.
And you sit on a rock.
Yeah, it's alive.
You can feel the
it.
energy. And I've done some hiking in bare feet. I have done some this year.
That's real good.
only uphill because going downhill is a little more unstable. But the feeling of that on the dirt in the mountains.
Yeah. Good grounding.
Is pretty activating.
Reflexology too, naturally.
It is, and
know.
even when you step on certain rocks that actually may hurt, you're really on it for a second, and then you've passed over
And
quickly.
even that is already predetermined. It is, even that, and the spot that it hit is predetermined. That's how exacting God is. There's nothing in these universes that are left for happenstance. Even you're stepping on a different rock.
Wow, now
Even
that's extraordinary.
Everything is that perfect in its timing.
So wouldn't you agree that nature, whether it's a plant, animal, if you can get yourself immersed on a yard or in the mountains or in an ocean, just nature, that is the key part to healing.
It is, and I've said this before, and I say to you guys that are bedridden, get outside somehow. Wheel out in a chair, somehow get either on a porch, indirect lighting, but try to get out into some full spectrum lighting.
That's it. And fresh air.
Yeah.
Even city air, if you live in a city, is still fresh than the the air in your house generally, unless the windows are open, are just circulated and it's stale and stagnant. And the thing is, if you are bedridden and you don't have a wheelchair, these office chairs like Dr. Morse has with the rollers on the bottom, have someone lift you into that and they'll push you out on the porch. There are ways.
Crawl out.
Crawl out. Crawl.
Mm-hmm.
But
you won't be crawling long.
You won't be, but that nature, just like the herbs come from nature, it's all synergistic working together for your wellness. Because we are nature. We're not separate from nature. And when we're isolated from it too long by being in these unnatural forms of building, right?
Yeah.
It depletes our energy force, and we need it revitalized, reactivated through the sun.
I tried full spectrum lighting in this. We've tried every lighting there is, and it just deteriorates so much. Full spectrum lighting is strong on your desks and everything. So unfortunately, then you get the incandescents that are hot as heck. So you got all kinds of concerns. So I don't stay in here too long.
Yes.
I try to be outside more than I'm inside.
And I know you do. And also, at least you have this full wall of windows.
Yeah.
That's definitely helpful.
For years, I took the back office, and so finally, when I graduated, I gave all those offices to Jen and Marcy. They gave me this one.
You're like, may I graduate and have a bigger office? Now, that's funny.
I could have built my office and took the window, but I gave the window to the waiting room, and I took the office behind the waiting room.
Again, did you hear that? This is his office, quote unquote. But what I want to say is, I know you're going to get all embarrassed and blush, and this is a humbling moment. But this is another aspect demonstrating your generosity. He could take the window. He took the back office. I remember the back office. I was here, and it was cute and all, but there's no light.
Light.
Yeah, no light. Yeah. And this is. You have prompted me for a while to say, Athena, we haven't really even talked much about the story and how I wanted to help certain aspects of people with this condition. Maybe we'll continue on.
This was good. And I really think you've given a real good insight to how bad things can get and how you can pull yourself back. And I think they get that.
I hope so.
I get that sitting here with you. I've been on this journey with you.
Yes, you have.
I know, and just so many suffering out there, but it's all fixable. And that's what you need to know. It's all fixable. And it's not fixable through the AMA, and it never will be, because their processes are wrong, their thoughts are wrong, their understanding is wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong, but you got to change when you know you're wrong, and when you see that you're not being effective and people are moving away from you into our field, that's the time to wake up. And this is to medical doctors. There's nothing wrong in realizing that you were educated maybe a little wrong, and now you need to maybe take what you know and then add to that and grow with the understanding of proper chemistry with foods and how you take someone from Hellville to Wellville. And I could train any medical doctor. We're doing that now with medical doctors, how to get them on board and where we're all working together and no one's stabbing others in the back and stuff like this. But as long as you're killing people, you're going to have us coming after you. and telling people the truth and stuff.
And that's where it needs to go. We're all willing to grow and admit that this knowledge that I've been using is no longer serving me or others. And now I have to accept a new way of thinking. This includes people who feel like their doctors speak to them as the gospel. And it's like, well, if that's working for you, but if you're still sick after all these years and you're having all these problems, then perhaps it's time to admit it's not working for you. And, people are like, I can't give up my meat. I can't give up this. And it's like, well, when someone says, I'm cheating, I'm going to treat myself to quote unquote, my fill-in would have been pizza. That would have been my treat. Pizza,
really?
pizza pie. Yeah, I know, but this is how it was years ago.
Smells good.
But it's like, well, what is it actually a treat if you suffer tremendously from that cheat?
Exactly.
No, it's not a treat. It's self-sabotage. It's a treat in your mouth because, olfactorily is how we taste food, and nostalgically it's like, oh yeah, I used to eat pizza all the time with my friends and we had so much fun. But now that pizza is like the skull and crossbones, is your enemy, and it's killing you. So we need to change our dialogue, our inner dialogues. We need to change our inner acceptance of this does no longer work for me. Am I willing to surrender those things that I thought I needed but are really hurting me?
Well put.
And if I'm willing to surrender, can I now adopt this new way of thinking, which is foreign to what I've been told through the doctors and foreign to what I've ever heard? But am I willing now to release all that and adopt this and see where this journey takes me? Because it's obvious this journey hasn't taken me to Willville.
Some of you, just so beautiful, you've had the faith that we were speaking the truth and you found your remedies. And for you, all our love, because you guys now can show and demonstrate to the world that this is doable. And they don't have to have faith anymore because we have actual living, breathing people all over the world now. And I've been planting people for 40-some years all around the world to come up at this time and start to say, we did it. And it's just a cool thing. I'm excited.
It is cool. Well,
that.
thank you for your invitation for me to be here.
You're welcome.
Thank you for me being here. And thank all of you also for having the eyes willing to see.
And to listen to us.
The ears willing to hear.
I know, we thank you.
And to tap into your heart, to listen to, if anything that's been said here today, if any word, if any sentence, or if just a feeling you've received that it's a confirmation for you that yes, you are on the right journey, or it's a direction for you as an invitation for wellness, to please take the first step. And there are many ways to take the first step, but know that the reason I'm here today, sitting with Dr. Morse, not the reason I'm here alive, there's a lot of reasons, but the reason why I chose to accept his invitation today was because I have been on the other side of that camera, and I've often thought, it'd be really cool to see someone who has been through a lot of situations. Again, we haven't delved into everything, and we will do this in future videos we decided together. But to at least see, yes, I've traveled a long way. I've traveled a long, long way to get here today, so I could give you hope. So I could give you inspiration. So I could give you any kernel or nugget of possibility that wellness and regeneration and hair growing back from being half bald, and now I'm walking. I even started dancing again.
Isn't that cool? I'm so excited. You don't want to tell them what planet you're really from, right?
No.
Yeah.
But some of them probably got it. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
And and if you do, well, we're connecting.
We're fun stuff, guys. Thank you for taking your precious time and listening to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. It's divine. It's such a nightmare. but you're now are on that incredible road to wellness and happy and joy, and you got your spiritual side. It's just so beautiful. I just love it.
And in level 2,
level 2 coming
level
up next
2,
week. I better get home and
detoxification
start studying.
specialist. Yes. And please let me take this moment. First off, thank you, as Dr. Morse said, thank you for your precious time and your attention and your love being sent our way as we're sending love to you. Thank you so much. And Dr. Morse, I mean, I don't want to cry, but you know it's my great pleasure, and I want to thank you for your continued service and action in providing these videos. Many videos. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your special attention when I needed it, and helping me through those tough times. And thank you for your continued belief in the human race of evolving to a higher level.
Thanks. I love you.
Please continue to watch and learn and elevate your life to the levels that you dream that are possible, because they are possible.
Blessings be.
Blessings be.
Blessings be.